So today, guys, we're going to be covering AMD. I've been looking at AMD for a while. And, well, not just a while. I've been watching it since basically when I started messing with stocks. I believe it was like maybe like 2010 or something like that. I believe it was like a $2 stock back then. Pretty crazy stuff. Let's take a look at AMD's charts first and foremost. Okay. Now this is trade view. We got the candlesticks going. Okay. This is live. Over the past day. It was just up live. It's $2.59 a share right now. The next earnings report's in 11 days. Average volume of 32.85 million. Current volume 43.37 million. Market cap of $421.58 billion. AMD. I would say the second place competitor to Nvidia, but pretty competitive. All right. So over the past 3 months, been a little choppy over the past 3 months. All right. Like I said, we got AMD. Over the past 5 years, it's up 179%. Over the past 1 year, it's up 110%. So that's kind of interesting. Year to date, it's up 21%. Past 6 months, it's up 63%. Over the past month, it's up 20%. Okay. It's got a 52-week high of $267.08. 52-week low of $76. Earnings per share, $2.02. Beta of 195. The PE ratio is at 127.99. We're going to look at something here in a minute that will make that PE ratio make a little more sense, at least for the short term. They do. What is AMD and what do they do? AMD, which stands for Advanced Micro Devices, is a powerful powerhouse in the computing world. Think of them as the primary rival to Intel in the processor market and a major competitor to Nvidia in the graphics space. They design the brains and eyes of modern computers, though they don't actually manufacture the chips themselves. They are a fabless semiconductor company, meaning they design the hardware and let specialized factories like TSMC handle the heavy lifting of production. Interesting. What AMD actually does. AMD's business is generally split into 4 main buckets: central processing units, CPUs. Under the Ryzen brand, AMD makes CPUs for laptops and desktops. They are currently known for offering high core counts and great power efficiency. In the server world, their EPYC processors power massive data centers for companies like Google and Amazon. 2. Graphics processing units, GPUs. Under the Radeon brand, they create graphics cards. These are essential for gamers, video editors, and increasingly AI researchers. While NVIDIA currently leads the high-end market, AMD is often the value king, offering similar performance for a lower price. Semi-custom solutions. This is a cool niche. AMD provides the custom hardware that powers almost every modern gaming console. If you own a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series XS, you are using AMD technology. They also power handhelds like the Steam Deck. Adaptive and embedded computing. Through their acquisition of Xilinx, AMD creates specialized chips, FPGAs, used in everything from 5G cell towers and automated safety systems to medical devices and Mars rovers. Wow, look at that. Why do they matter? For a long time, Intel was the undisputed king. AMD's Zen architecture, launched in 2017, completely flipped the script. It forced a massive wave of innovation in the industry, leading to faster computers and lower prices for everyone. Today they are a massive player in the AI race, developing Instinct accelerators to compete with NVIDIA's hardware in training large language models. Would you like me to compare a specific AMD processor to an Intel equivalent for a PC build you're planning? Okay, so this is a little more into like the actual chips and stuff that they do. I'm more concerned about the stock price. Is AMD's PE ratio so high? Guys, like and subscribe. Like I say, this is your cousin Dustin. We're just here doing some research, trying to figure some stuff out together. This is never financial advice. But here we go. Why is AMD's PE ratio so high? Now, this is according to Gemini. So, take that with what you, whatever you take it with. If you look at AMD's PE, price to earnings ratio, on a finance site today, you might see a number that looks terrifyingly high, often over 100 for most companies. That would suggest the stock is a massive bubble. Yeah, that's what I thought. When I recently looked at AMD, more recently, I was like, why is that PE ratio so high compared to like NVIDIA or a Meta, who have much higher EPS? So you would think that it's a much worse deal. But after looking into it a little bit more, I started to see what was happening, and I'm thinking Gemini should give us the answers here. However, in AMD's case, that number is highly artificial due to specific accounting rules. Here are the three main reasons why the PE ratio is so high. Now, you could take this and say, well, that's a bunch of nonsense. They need to get their accounting in order so that their stock looks appropriate. I guess you could make that argument. I guess, whatever. Number one reason. The Xilinx effect. Accounting noise. The biggest reason for the inflated PE is AMD's $49 billion acquisition of Xilinx in 2022. The rule: when a company buys another, it must amortize, gradually write off the value of the intangible assets it just bought. The result: every quarter, AMD records a massive expense on its books for this amortization. This is a non-cash expense. No actual money is leaving the building, but it legally lowers their reported GAAP earnings. The math. Since PE is calculated by dividing price by earnings, a lower earnings number makes the PE ratio skyrocket, even though the company's actual cash flow is very healthy. See? trailing versus forward PE. Most finance apps show the trailing PE, which looks at the last 12 months of performance. Investors, however, are buying AMD for what it will do in the next 12 months. Trailing PE, around 120. Looking in the rearview mirror, including the Xilinx costs. Trailing PE is around 120, looking in the rearview mirror, including the Xilinx costs. Forward PE is around 35 to 40, looking at analyst estimates for 2026 earnings. This number is much lower because analysts expect massive profit growth from AI and data center sales. Very interesting. High growth expectations. The AI premium. Wall Street currently views AMD as the only legitimate challenger to NVIDIA in the AI chip market. Revenue growth. AMD recently projected a 60% growth rate for its data center business and a 35% overall growth rate through 2030. A 60% growth rate for its data center business and a 35% overall growth rate through 2030. The premium. Investors are willing to pay more today for $1 of AMD's earnings because they believe those earnings will double or triple in the coming years. High PE ratios are standard for companies in hyper-growth phases. Okay, we get that. That's all pretty basic stuff. But it's that acquisition of Xilinx and the amortization that they have to write off that's making their numbers look wacky. So if you think about AMD's actually more of like a 35 to 40, then it's right along with its peers. It's not doing anything crazy. The history of AMD is a classic underdog story, a journey of survival near bankruptcy, and a massive technological comeback that eventually reshaped the computing industry. Founded in 1969 by Jerry Sanders and 7 colleagues from Fairchild Semiconductor, AMD began with just $100,000 and a focus on producing high-quality logic chips. Back in 1969, the second source era, 1970s to 1980s. In its early years, AMD didn't design many original chips. Instead, they survived by being a second source manufacturer, producing licensed versions of chips designed by others like Intel to ensure big customers had a steady supply. 1975. AMD reverse engineered the Intel 8080 and began selling its own version. 1982. IBM chose the Intel x86 architecture for its PCs, but required a second supplier for safety. Intel was forced to license its designs to AMD, creating the x86 partnership that still defines the industry today. The rivalry ignites. 1990s to 2000s. The relationship soured when Intel tried to stop licensing its newer designs. AMD responded by developing its own independent architecture. 1991. AMD released the AM386, proving they could innovate beyond just cloning Intel. 1999. The Athlon K7 launched, becoming the first processor to hit the 1.0 GHz milestone, beating Intel to the finish line. 2003. AMD launched the Athlon 64, the first 64-bit processor for consumers, which forced Intel to change its entire roadmap. 2003. AMD launched the Athlon 64, the first 64-bit processor for consumers, which forced Intel to change its entire roadmap. 2006. AMD acquired ATI Technologies for $5.4 billion. In 2006. This was a massive gamble that gave them the Radeon graphics technology they use today. Wow. The Dark Ages. 2011 to 2016. After their early 2000s success, AMD entered a period of extreme struggle, the bulldozer flop. In 2011, AMD released the Bulldozer architecture. It was a massive failure, power-hungry and slow compared to Intel's Core series. Financial crisis. AMD's market share plummeted, and the company was reportedly months away from bankruptcy. Their stock price fell to roughly $1.60 in 2015. The Great Resurgence, 2017 to the present. The modern era of AMD is defined by the leadership of Dr. Lisa Su, who became CEO in 2014, and the Zen architecture. 2017, AMD launched Ryzen. It was a total game changer, offering more cores and better efficiency than Intel for a lower price. 2022, AMD completed the $49 billion acquisition of Xilinx, the largest in semiconductor history, allowing them to expand into AI and data centers. 2025 and 2026. AMD has officially surpassed Intel in market value and is now the primary challenger to NVIDIA in the AI chip market with their Instinct accelerators. There's some of the milestones if you want to see that. Year. Founded in 1969 in Sunnyvale, California. 1982, licensed as a second source for IBM. 2000, becomes the first to reach 1 gigahertz with the Athlon. 2009, spins off its factories to become a fabless company. 2017, launches Ryzen, starting a massive market recovery. 2024, overtakes Intel in market capitalization. Okay. Their CEO, she's a beast. The CEO of AMD is Dr. Lisa Su. She is widely regarded as one of the most successful tech executives of the last decade. Since taking the helm in October 2014, she has led a historic turnaround, taking AMD from the brink of bankruptcy to its current position as a global leader in high performance and adaptive computing. Key facts about Dr. Lisa Su. Background: She is a trained electrical engineer with a PhD from MIT. Before joining AMD in 2012, she held leadership roles at IBM, Texas Instruments, and Freescale Semiconductor. That was a lot of acronyms and letters. But she's an electrical engineer, so she understands the chips at the basic level. Like, that's why she's able to work with these other companies in the way that, some other CEO may not be able to. The turnaround. When she became CEO, AMD's stock was trading at roughly $3 a share. Today, the company is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, thanks to her decision to focus on the high-end Zen architecture for CPUs, Ryzen and EPYC. Family tie. In a fascinating coincidence of the tech world, she is actually first cousins with Jensen Huang, the founder and CEO of NVIDIA. Recent accolades. She was named Time's CEO of the Year in 2024 and is a regular on Forbes and Fortune's list of the most powerful women in business. Her current focus. In 2026, Dr. Su is heavily focused on the Yada scale computing era. She is aggressively positioning AMD to capture a larger slice of the AI market, recently projecting that global compute demand will increase 100% over the next 5 years. Right. So if the global compute demand is going to increase 100x and she's trying to capture this market share, you can only imagine what AMD is going to do in its growth. All right, here we go. Now we're talking. Back to AMD. AMD stock jumps on Ryzen 79850X3D price and release date reveal. AMD stock rallied on Friday after the chipmaker revealed the price and release date for its Ryzen 7 9850 X3D CPU. Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, was on the rise Friday after the price of the semiconductor company's newest CPU was revealed. AMD has set the MSRP for its Ryzen 7 9850 X3D at $499, which is roughly what consumers and investors expected based on other CPU prices and leaks. Okay. We are not going to keep saying that. AMD's Ryzen 7 9850 is the company's new flagship CPU for gamers, surpassing the performance of the Ryzen 7 9800. The price of the Ryzen 7 9850 reflects this, as it's priced slightly above the other one at $479. Huh, it's still right around the same price. Whatever. Kind of skim down here. It was up on Friday, extending an 18.48% rally year to date. The stock has also increased 106.55% over the past 12 months. AMD stock movement today was strong, and with it came heavy trading. As of this writing, more than 24 million shares have changed hands compared to a 3-month daily average of about 29 million units. Yeah, is AMD a buy, a sell, or a hold? Turning to Wall Street, the analyst consensus rating for AMD is strong buy, based on 24 buy and 8 hold ratings over the past 3 months. With that comes an average AMD stock price target of $284, representing a potential 8.61% upside for the shares. Okay. We're asking Gemini a question. Compare NVIDIA and AMD stock growth potential. I have an analogy that I'm kind of drawing in my head here, and I think it's gonna make sense, but I want to dive into this a little more just to be sure. What I don't want to do is keep reading those dang numbers on them chips. Driving me crazy. Alright. In January 2026, the growth potential for NVIDIA and AMD is driven by 2 different strategies. NVIDIA is focused on maintaining its massive dominance through record-breaking profits, while AMD is positioned as the high-growth challenger, taking market share. Here's how their growth potential compares for 2026. '26 revenue focus. Blackwell and Rubin GPU platforms. For NVIDIA, estimated revenue growth would be 45% to 60%. Market position, market leader, 80 to 90% of the AI share. Yes, this is the analogy. This is where it comes into play. And I'll explain it here in just a moment. AMD's Instinct MI350 and MI450 series. Estimated revenue growth, 35 to 40% of the AI segment. In its AI segment, specifically. Market position. They're challenging for 8 to 10% of the AI share. Okay? NVIDIA's much more higher profit margin at 53%. AMD is at 10% profit margin. Our forward PE, we compared these a while ago, of NVIDIA is more about 23 to 26%. AMD is more about like 35 to 42%. NVIDIA's more steady market leadership and reliable cash flow. AMD is aggressive growth as an underdog challenger. The case for NVIDIA, the dominant leader. NVIDIA enters 2026 at the height of its power. While its growth is normalizing compared to the triple-digit spikes of 2024, it remains a profit machine. Blackwell success. The RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell and the Enterprise Blackwell GPUs are setting record performance benchmarks, keeping competitors at bay. Bargain valuation. Surprisingly, NVIDIA often trades at a lower forward PE than AMD because its earnings are so high. It is currently viewed as a growth at a reasonable price GARP play. The CUDA moat. Developers remain locked into NVIDIA's software ecosystem, making it difficult for data centers to switch brands without significant effort. That's NVIDIA's dominance over the space. Competitors like, let's say, like Meta, Google, OpenAI, they don't want NVIDIA to have this dominance because it makes it where they can't negotiate prices as easily. The case for AMD. Let's keep going. The case for AMD, the high growth challenger. AMD is the only credible alternative for companies like Microsoft and OpenAI who want to break NVIDIA's monopoly. That's like what I was just saying. Accelerating momentum. In 2025, AMD's stock outperformed NVIDIA by nearly double, 80% versus 40%, as investors bet on their Instinct MI350 series. Expansion opportunity. Because AMD's market share in AI accelerators is currently small, around 10%, capturing even a few percentage points of NVIDIA's share leads to massive percentage growth for the stock. Next-gen roadmap. The upcoming Helios MI450 platform, expected late 2026, is being marketed as a potential NVIDIA killer designed to compete directly with NVIDIA's upcoming Rubin architecture. So if you prefer a highly profitable market leader with a wide defensive moat and a surprisingly reasonable valuation relative to its earnings, maybe NVIDIA. If you are looking for a higher volatility and aggressive growth, it is the underdog play that benefits most from the market's desire for a competitive alternative to NVIDIA. That's AMD. So, very cool, very interesting. So what do I think of AMD? I think they're really interesting. I think they've got a lot of room to grow. The capturing of market share thing, the little alligator to big dominant alligator that requires more food to sustain itself. If we're betting on AMD, we're betting on the smaller alligator that can eat the small prey. It can eat the bigger prey as well. It can grow much faster. Can it get to as big of a size? Maybe not, but we're betting on, will it expand itself? That's what we want when it comes to this, when it comes to the stock price. So yeah, guys, it's your cousin Dustin. I will be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you think I won't, guess again, because I will. I will be here, guys.